Today in this tutorial I'll be showing you how to create a particle system using the new Niagara model in Unreal Engine. I'll be using 4.21.2. I'll be creating this particle system where you can see particles get shot out and they will be attracted by external influencers. In this case, two spheres which each attract their own type of particle. Now, to start out, I'll be creating a new level. I'll just pick the default one, nice and easy. I don't need this. I don't need this. It's just clogging up my screen right now. What's very important to know before working with Niagara is that you actually have to activate it, meaning you have to go into the plugins to effects and enable Niagara. You'll have to restart the engine. I already have it, so I don't have to. It can take a while. Feel free to pause the video and come back once it's done. Now, to get started, we'll need to create a couple of things. Let's start out with a blueprint. We're going to create a new blueprint with Actor as a base and name it BP Attractor. This will be the sphere that attracts particles. We'll also create a blueprint, again with Actor as base, named BP Particle Blaster, which will hold our Niagara particle system, which will shoot out particles. Now for the actual Niagara stuff, we'll create an emitter with a fountain as a base, named PE for particle emitter. Particle emitter. Creativity through the roof. A particle system will also be needed, so I'm going to be using nothing as a base, just an empty system. PS particle system. For a couple of things that, because the particle system will need to know where to go, we'll have to set this through blueprints and a couple of other fancy magic. I'm going to be creating some module scripts. These are new in the Niagara system, named MS for module script, set color. I'm going to copy this guy, MS set sign, and MS set destination. I'm not going to be filling these out just yet. I'm going to be needing two materials, M_glow mat for the particles themselves, and M_attractor base. Let's quickly save everything, sure. Okay, so to get started, let's start with the easy parts. Let's create some materials. I'm going to start with the attractor base, which is going to be a very, very simple material. It'll hold three different variables: the color, just the base color, the metalness, and the roughness. I'm going to convert these to parameters so I can just quickly edit them in an instance, because we'll be making two of those. And name this one metal, and name this one roughness. Already attached. Okay, apply. Okay, that goes a lot faster. Now, for the glow material, because this one's already done, you don't need anything else. I know it's just a black silly little sphere right now, but that's all we need right now. For the glow material, we're going to start out by setting this guy to unlit. We don't need any lighting information, we don't need any of it. Now you can see we only have these three things, these three inputs for the material. We only need the emissive color, and since we're going to be driving the color through the particle system itself, I'll be needing particle color and touch it right there. I'll give you this emissive white sphere, so this doesn't take as long as before. There we go. Save it too. There we go. Okay, so our materials are done. I'm gonna create some instances from this guy. Let's at least name this kinda correctly. Instance 1, because we'll need 2. There we go. Instance 2. Way over there, I don't care. Let's open these guys up. So we have these two black spheres of nothingness. What you want to do is you're going to check each of these boxes. Well, it depends on how you want them to look, of course. I personally like it when they're a bit metal, look nice. I'll give them a color too. I like mine red. That's red. It'll look better in the scene, trust me. And we'll do the same one here. I know I could have set these in the base material already, but just to allow the user to play around with it a bit, you can just change it in here, I guess. Okay, so these are done too. It's easy. Look, they already look a lot better. Next up, we'll be looking at the attractor itself. Now, this will be, like I said, the sphere in the scene, which will attract the particles to him through some mumbo jumbo. So what I want to do is we're gonna add a static mesh, because I mean you can put in whatever the hell you want. It doesn't have to be a sphere. And we'll be adding the sphere. If you can't see these things, you can just go into view options and Jesus Christ, what? This one's new. Okay. That's not what I want at all. There we go. And enter view options, and then here show engine contents. I want the sphere right here. You have these two spheres. They are named exactly the same. One has a lot more triangles and for some reason it's smaller. I'm gonna pick that one. Just out of OCD reasons, I'm gonna put the base on this, so at least I know, like, oh, it was intended for this. Then I will be going into the construction script. The event graph, we're not gonna need it. Just clean it up. Doesn't matter, I know, but let's clean it up anyway. We're gonna go into the construction script, and what we're gonna do is set the material depending on what kind of an attractor it is, the positive or the negative one, as I like to say, because you have two different ones. I will be giving this a boolean, sign, as a variable, and I will set it to public, because I want to be able to edit this in the editor. And just change it around. Now, we got this sign here. To figure out which material we want, we'll have to take a look at the sign and figure out, hey, what are you? Are you going to be true or are you going to be false? For true, we can grab our static mesh, and we will set the material. Now, make sure you pick the correct material instance. I personally like it when it's positive, it's blue, and the other way around, like if it's negative, it's gonna be red. Go. Ignore the other materials I had. I already tested it out. Be sure to link up the static mesh so it doesn't work, so it doesn't crash. Wow, it doesn't work, it will be bad. Compile it, works, saves it, done. Good. Let's see, if you put this in scene now, you have this ball with red color in my case. If I change the sign, it's going to be blue. Play around. Don't need it yet. And that's everything it has to do right now. Next up, we'll be taking a look at our particle layer. Now, like I said, we'll be using Fountain as a base. That's because, I mean, I like working with bases. You already have a couple of things set up. You can just throw away what you don't need. To start out, I'm disgusted with this orbit mode. I'm going to turn it off. It gives me the good old control scheme of the Unreal Engine itself. And if you want, in the preview scene settings, you can also enable and disable the environment. I like to disable it so I can actually see my particles. It looks a lot better in my opinion. We'll be adding a couple of variables, which we'll be using to drive the entire logic behind this particle. To start out, let's add in the particles themselves. They will have to know what kind of particle they are. Are they positive or negative? Are they 1 or 0, true or false, whatever you want to call it. In my case, positive, negative, that's what I'm going to roll with. So I'll be giving them a boolean called particles.sign. I'll also be giving them a vector parameter called particles. attractor location, which will hold the location of the sphere which is attracting this particle. Next up, because we'll have to figure out where the sphere is, we'll need that information. We'll create two variables in the user tab called user.see negative location, and again vector user.positive location. These will be set through the blueprint, the particle bosser blueprint, and then we'll use them in the three module scripts to set all the data we have to set. Now, next up, we'll take a look at the spawn. Well, there are a couple of things. Maybe it's better if we change this up first. By default, the fountain uses a sprite renderer, and I'm not planning on using a sprite renderer. Of course, if you want, you can just use it. It's not important. I don't wanna. I want to use a mesh renderer. I'll be setting this guy to the sphere again, the same sphere. And I want to override this material because I plan on giving them a fancy color, the glow mode. Once it compiles, you'll see, there we go, just ugly white glowing balls. Now back to spawn. In spawn, let me open up the variables. You'll see that you have a couple of already set up variables that will change. Two of these I don't want, being the mass and the sprite rotation. The mass, I won't be using it. You can probably use it for, say, gravity or whatever. It's physics, mass is physics. Use it whatever you want. I'm not using it. And the sprite rotation, you don't need it because, well, they're not sprites anymore. I've been in measurement. The lifetime, however, I will still need, of course, because I don't want my particles to live forever. But I'm not gonna make it some ranged floats. I don't care about randomization right now. It's just to illustrate the effect that I'm trying to teach you right now. I'll be setting this to 5 with just a simple float. Next up, I want my scale. Personally, I like it when they are nice and uniform. So I'll be making a vector from a float and inputting 0.3 into this guy. This works nicely for me. I mean, it's the size I like. And that's the set variables tab. Next up, we have calculate size by mass. Get rid of it. I don't want it. I don't want any of it. I don't care. I don't want it. The next tab is the add velocity. You can play around with it however you like. I like to set it to these values, being -25, -25, 1000. And the maximum will be 25, 25, again, 1000. I'm not going to scale this. It's all fine. The sphere location, meaning each particle will spawn inside of a sphere with a radius of 8 right now. This is mostly fine. I put this at 10 just to get a little bit more spread on my particles, to give a little bit more of a dynamic feel, like an actual stream of particles, not just a line of particles. I like that feeling. Looks nice to me. Okay, so that one's done. Now, of course, it's not completely done yet. We'll get back to that. We'll add those module scripts in spawn. But just to set up the basics of the particle emitter, let's just move on for now. Looking at the updates, we'll still need to update the age. I'm planning on using the gravity force, just to add like the returning effects of it. Otherwise, you'll just get attracted and launched into space. It'll look cool, sure, but let's just use it. Drag force, I don't care. The color, I'm not gonna use this because I'm gonna drive it through my module scripts, and this one is necessary. To the update, we'll be needing to add the point attraction force. This will essentially grab points somewhere in your scene, and if your particle comes close enough, it'll try to attract it. Now, as soon as you add this, you'll see, oh boy, there is gonna be a problem. This module has unmet dependencies. Oh boy, what are we gonna do? Well, we're just gonna press fix issue, Unreal is already smart enough to figure out that it just has to be above soul forces and velocity, because if you put it behind it, it's just not going to do anything. In the point attraction force, we're going to change a couple of things. First of all, we're going to want this attractor location. That's where we want our particles to go to. Let's change this attraction strength to 5 and the radius to 500. This will give it a nice effect, in my opinion. You play around with it however you like. I mean, if you want your balls to be super far away, increase it, sure, fine. This one is vital though, the attractor location, you really do need it. So don't forget to set that one. Next up, let's take a look at our module scripts. Let's open each one of these up and let's start with the set sign. Well, let's quickly compile each one because they have an error by default if you just created them and opened them. So the set sign one. In here, we're effectively going to set for each particle once they get spawned if they were positive or negative. This is just going to be a 50-50 chance, a flip coin, and we'll be setting this guy to the particles because Unreal doesn't get that it's just a variable that's already made. We just have to make a new one. It doesn't make sense to me, but hey, that's how it works. And type in the name exactly the way you named it in the emitter, meaning particles dot sign. You can just go here, click it, copy the name, go back here, put it in. That works too. It's fine. So yeah, we'll be setting that Boolean variable. To set this, since it's just essentially it's a flip coin, we can just use the random bool function, which will give you either true or false randomly. Perfect, exactly what we need. Now we're not done yet. You can, to make your life a lot easier, go in here and create and type in the category whatever you want to do. In my case, tutorial. And in the module usage bit mask, change everything so it's so only module and particle spawn scripts are checked. This will allow you to edit in here, making it show up in the did it not yet? Okay. Don't forget to apply and save it, otherwise you will not see it. Then in the tutorial tab, you will see MS set sign. The other thing I would like to use just to demonstrate what it can do is I'm going to set in the provided dependencies. I'm going to type in set sign, just one element, because later I'm going to use it in these two fellas, the set color and the set destination, to make sure that it's just a tad more foolproof. But we'll get to that. This module script is done. You don't need it anymore. So let's go to the next one. We'll be heading to set color now. I'm going to start out up here. I'm going to set the module usage bit mask again, and category tutorial. Yep. In required dependencies, I'm going to be adding one element. If you open it up, you can set the ID it wants. It's going to be set sign, because we want it to happen after we set a sign, because we're going to need that sign in this script. Keep this on pre-dependency, meaning the dependency belongs before the module, meaning whatever has the provided dependency of set sign should be happening before this module. And since this happens from top to bottom, meaning it will mean set sign will have to be above set color. I'll demonstrate that in a moment. I don't care about description right now. So yeah, that one's set up. For the actual script itself, we'll be setting the particle color. That's essentially the name of the script. So you can already add that one. It's already set up. You don't have to type anything. There we go, particle color. We don't want it to be black though. We want, depending on the particle sign, meaning you have to get the Boolean particles dot sign. Put this guy in an if. This if will check, as a regular if or a branch or whatever you're used to, whether the sign is positive or negative. And depending on what it is, it'll output one or the other. Because it doesn't know what the output is yet, like you can see, it says the type is invalid, so no type. You can't set what it will give off yet. You have to attach this guy to particle colors first, and it immediately realizes, hey, I need to give a color. And you'll get these two boxes with linear colors, which you can now set. Keep in mind, the first one is going to be true, the second one is going to be false. So the first one, being true, meaning positive, is going to be blue. Now, sure, this is blue, but it's an emissive color, so we can cheat a little bit with the values, which I personally like to do. And I put this guy to 10. This will give a much more emissive blue than the regular blue. Saving, thank you Unreal for saving my life. We're going to do the same one with this guy. Put this guy on 10, the red color on 10. There we go. Now if it's true, it's going to be blue. If it's false, it's going to be red. Compile, apply, and save. And if I go in here now, and I go to the tutorial in my case, and set color, once it compiles, you'll see some are blue, some are red. It should be a 50-50 split, but you know, chance is fun. Now about those dependencies that I mentioned earlier, if I were now to grab this guy and put it above sign, it's going to be like, oh, hey, guy, the module has unmet dependencies. The same one you had back down here with a point attraction force. This means that, hey, you need to keep this guy in the correct order. Meaning, because we set it to be to look for the set sign one, it has to be behind set sign. If you click fix issue, it's going to put it behind it. There we go. It's fixed. It's done. Yeah, I mean, Niagara is still in a is still in a very early stage of development, in my opinion, in such a way that right now this guy isn't working. It used to work. You saw it. You have to believe me. Trust me. But yeah, if it does this, ignore it. Otherwise, don't worry about it. It's normal. I think if I just, I don't know, save it again. No? Okay, yeah, sure. This might work. Yeah, there we go. See, it's already fixed. Oh, the wonders of Niagara. Next up is going to be set destination. This guy, same principle. Make sure it's only in the spawn. Put this guy in the category you want. Make sure you get this guy to set sign, so it happens after set sign for sure. And if you want, you can already put it in there. Go down here, set destination. There we go. All good and well. Well, of course it's not done yet. I have to still make this thing happen. Okay, I'll show it. So again, depending on the boolean of the particle, meaning particles.sign, the very same variable we've been using this entire time, we will be setting where to go. Now, where to go is in the emitter set as a vector, the user.negative location and the user.positive location. We can also get these variables, because right here you can see user, I can get them. And if you open this up, or you want to get the user, make new vector. Name this the same way as you named your vector. In my case, user.negative location and user.positive location. Do note sometimes if you try to create something new here, it's gonna be very annoying and not move the box upwards, meaning that you cannot scroll in this thing. You can't, and you won't be able to see the vector. A useful thing to do is just type in vector here, and if you can still not see it, just close all the tabs until you can see it. Like now I can see user make new vector. That's the one you want. So once you have those two vectors, we're again going to need an if, just like before. We'll be setting these two vectors. Like last time, we'll need to decide where it'll go. You'll have to get into the map set, a new vector, make new particle vector, and name it particles.attraction location, I believe the name was. Just in case, I'm going to double check it. Not even going to double check it, no, I'm just going to bluntly copy the name just to be sure. I think something changed, so I must have made a mistake. Anyway, fuck this guy up. If it's positive, it's going to be A, negative going to be B, so negative to B, positive to A. Compile, apply, save. This guy is now ready to go. So if we look at this fella now, you can see, oh, it's doing its thing, it's having the colors, it's shooting them upwards. Should be, yeah, that mostly works, yeah, it's fine. So all we need now is, we still haven't set up the values of these two vector parameters, whatever you want to say. For that, we're going to head into the particle cluster. In here, we'll use this as a base for our particle system, meaning I can just go in here, type in Niagara, meaning a Niagara component, being the particle system in this case, will be added to this actor. I'm going to use it as a root, just out of habit, and set up the particle system. Hang on, why are you being weird? There we go. This guy is the one we want. Put it in there. And of course, you're not going to see anything yet. If you would like to see something, you can go into your particle system, go down here to track and emitters, and add the particle emitter. There we go. It's the exact same guy, exact same variables. You can even see these have been carried over. And in here, you see, oh, everything has been set. That's because these are embedded into the emitter, and adding them adds them in here as well. I'm going to compile and save it. Back into the particle blaster. So we have set the Niagara component using the particle system we made as a root of the object. In here, in the event graph, we're not going to need a construction script. In the event graph, we don't need the overlap, we don't need a tick, we're only going to need the begin plane. So, out of habit, again, I remove those. You can always add them later if you want. For now, we're going to stick with the begin plane. As soon as we start the game, the project, or whatever you're making, you want this system to know, I have somewhere where my blue balls have to go, I have somewhere where my red balls have to go, left as you want. So we'll have to set those things. Now we do have the component, so we can call it here, like, oh, here's my Niagara, do stuff, blah, blah, sure. But to do that, we also, and that's where my way of thinking is a bit limited maybe, because the system is purely made for this demo, for this tutorial. You can most definitely do this better. So to do this, I'm going to get all the actors of a class. In this case, the Attractor class, this guy. And this is completely depending on you putting two of these guys in here somewhere. And this is not necessary, but it will be best in setting one of them to be the opposite of the other. Like this one has to be blue, this one has to be red, in this case false and true this time. This way of working completely depends on that. Sadly, you can change this. I've tried out to do this at runtime so you can actually change the colors of these balls at runtime, and sure, it works, but it looks a bit messy, and again, it's not optimized for it. But for now, let's just continue with this. So knowing we are gonna have two of these BP attractors in the scene. We can use the get function twice, of course, to get the first one, and the second one this blueprint will find when doing the get all actors of clause. What we're gonna do is we're gonna ask the first one, hey guy, what's your sign? Get sign. There we go. This is the sign we put in here. It's the same sign we can edit in here, this guy. That's the one we're asking for. And we're gonna check if this guy is true or false, positive or negative. If you're true, then we'll be grabbing our Niagara and we'll be setting a vector3 variable. You'll see here, if you type in set var, you'll get set Niagara variable. Very easy is also just type in Niagara. You get a lot of Niagara stuff. You can find it here. That's the one we need. The set Niagara variable. If it's true, we're gonna set this guy to be the world position, the world location, I think it is. Yeah, the world location of the static mesh. We're also going to have to say which variable it is. Now, save yourself some effort. Go into the particle system, grab the positive location name, back in here, pop it in. No mistakes made, it's going to work. Just me. And we're going to do the exact same thing for the other guy. Meaning I'll have to copy this as well. So copy, plug it in, and put this guy as the negative location. So if the first ball we find, or first attractor we find, is positive, that guy will be our positive location, the other one will be the negative location. Be sure to hook these up, because otherwise it's going to give an error. Now, of course, if the first ball is a negative, we'll have to do the exact opposite. Meaning copy it, hook it up again. Sure you don't forget that. It's not going to work otherwise. Hook it up again, and then grab the first world location, and it's going to be put into negative, because it's going to be, the sign is going to be false, it's going to be negative, so the first one has to be negative. And the second one is going to be the positive one. Okay. So if we now take a look in here, plop you down there. Go. Oh, my OCD is kicking in again. Sure, whatever. If I now simulate this guy, you can see it's already kind of going in that direction. Kind of. Let's see why it's not the same as my initial demo. If I go in here, it does have that. It's probably because this guy is quite high. If I put this, well, you know what? Let's try without. If I turn off my gravity, if you now take a look, it's better. It's better. A bit closer. It's not going to change anything. Trust me. But yeah, you can see where I'm going to. That's it. That's the devil. Set the fall off exponent to 1. By the time this thing is saved, a new particle system is going to have been created. There we go. That's the one we wanted. Now this is, of course, without gravity. You can turn it off again. on again, sorry. And you'll get the effect we initially had, meaning if I turn this guy on again, pilot, save it. So if I turn on the gravity, I press simulate or play. I'll just press play just to prove that it works in play too, even though it doesn't matter. There we go, yay. You can see that the single emitter placed here, a single system with a single emitter, shoots shoots one kind of particle, but each they have a coin flip, am I positive, am I negative, and then they get sorted out using these attractors, the red one and the blue one. Now, of course, you can, like I mentioned before, change a lot of the stuff that I did. Like you can do this at runtime, meaning right now, if I switch these guys around, it's gonna switch around, like blue is going left now, red is going right. But if I now do this, you'll see it's still doing that because he finds this one first. If I do it the opposite way, he finds this guy first. It's like, oh, that one's red, so the other one has to be blue. You can change that. It actually looks that if it doesn't find a blue one, that it's just gonna shoot them upwards. You can do that at runtime too. But ideally, you will have to find a better way to have these attractors, because this depends on only having two in your entire scene. So maybe you can somehow set it up as a variable or something. It might be a possibility inside of the particle blaster, like you can add some new var. Come on, guy, work. Name it attractor reference and just put it in there as a public variable instead of using this. So yeah, that's a possibility. But other than that, that's pretty much the particle system. So yeah, let me know if you learned anything from it. Let me know if you have any cool ideas about what to do with this, and definitely let me know if you know nice ways to optimize this to make this a lot better, so we can actually use this in games or other projects. A nice thing you can do with this might be, I don't know, some kind of fluid simulation or wind, or just like to give a type of direction, or ions and physics and chemistry, etc. That might be pretty cool. But yeah. So anyway, thanks for watching. Be sure to leave a comment, and see you guys in the next tutorial.